Hey everybody, this is Snowy88 and I want to discuss about something called the observable universe. As you may know, I'm very interested in everything astronomical related stuff, and I find myself with some kind of dilemma concerning the age of the universe. Scientists say the universe is about 13.7 billion years old, and that the observable universe, which you can see here now, this giant ball, is about 90 billion years in diameter. So it has a radius about 45 billion light years. Nobody knows what's outside it, but there are scientists who think the non-observable universe is at least 100 times bigger than the observable universe. Now, this raises the question, how did scientists determine the age of the universe? Okay, from what I have been reading, and I am just a novice in this stuff. I mean, I'm not a physicist or an astronomer, just an enthusiasm figure. Let's say that. How is it possible they could determine the age of 13.7 billion years by only using, I guess they called it Hubbles Law. So they looked at the galaxies which are now receding from us, and they measured their redshift, and they came to the conclusion, well, if we put the clock backwards, then it came all together in 13.7 billion years ago. Okay, well, that is understandable. I mean, if you can calculate that, okay, that's fine by me. So that leads to the conclusion that, okay, then the universe must be 13.7 years old. But don't they forget something? Aren't they forgetting something? I mean, how about all the stuff that lies outside the observable universe? I never hear anything. I don't hear anybody. I'm sorry for my English. I don't hear anybody talk about that. If the universe, for example, is 100 times bigger than the observable universe, then it should be way much older than the 13.7 billion years it is today. So what I think what is happening is that our instruments are just not sensitive enough to measure the light that is coming from the edge of the universe. So you can point the Hubble telescope for 2 weeks at one point, and then you can see the edge of the universe at about that distance, and after that we can't see anything. Okay. Well, I think if we develop even more sensitive instruments, I think within 10 years from now that the observable universe will be doubled. I'm very sure of that. For some reason, I'm sure of that. Because I cannot believe the fact that our universe is only, let's say 14 billion years old, and that the non-observable universe is maybe at least 10 times bigger than the observable universe. Because that is, it's not in compliance with each other. I mean, then it should be way much older then. If there is so much stuff outside the observable universe, then it should be much older than that. But here's the catch. The catch is that scientists can determine by looking at current white dwarf stars how old they are and how far they are progressed with decaying. As many of you enthusiastic people know, white dwarf stars are the remnants of sun-like stars, which have shed off their entire atmosphere and only the core remains. And the core is just a small planet-sized, Earth-sized object, but still immensely hot, and it takes forever for a white dwarf to cool down. So they didn't find any, how should I say it? They didn't find any black dwarfs just yet. But the problem with that is it's just looking for a black cat in a coal cellar. It's hard to find. So maybe there are black dwarfs, but we cannot find them because they are hard to find. So, well, I don't know what currently the oldest white dwarf star is, but maybe if our instruments becoming more sensitive, we will find those dimmer white dwarfs, and they lead to the conclusion that our universe is probably just older than 14 billion years. I would guess it is at least 30 billion years, at least, or even older, or maybe it's just infinite in age and it's just pulsating. Pulsating like waves on a beach. It's like a lump of matter, which is in an endless void, which is expanding and coming back together, and then crushed together, and then exploding again, and it's just like the old faithful geyser in Yellowstone, America. It's just a repeating process. That's possible. I don't know for sure. It's something. It's a mystery, you know. And I'm not convinced that the universe is only 13.7 billion years old. It has to be older than that. It's huge. I mean, first of all, it has a diameter of 90 billion years old, and it has an age of 13.7 billion years old. So you could think, oh, how is this possible? How could it be bigger in size than its age? Well, that has something to do with the expansion of space. You have to look at it like this. Light is traveling at a speed of 300,000 kilometers per second. That's very fast. You never can catch that. But imagine that the universe is expanding, and the further you go away, the faster it is expanding. So basically you could say it's cumulative. The expanding is cumulative. So at a certain point, all the cumulative expanding parts of space are coming together at the far edge of space and are reaching the speed of light. So the expanding goes faster than the speed of light. So what does this say about the universe itself? I mean, okay, if there is an outside universe Would this suggest that we are the center of it? I don't know. I sincerely don't know. I'm just guessing about this subject. But, well, I don't know. I really don't know if we are the center or not. I think not, because if you move yourself 100 billion light years from here to another part of the galaxy, you will probably see the same thing. So, my guess is that the universe is much older than they think it is now. And this video is now made in 2017, and maybe in a few years, maybe somewhere in the 2020s, they will determine that the observable universe will be bigger. Yes, it will be bigger. I guess it will be bigger. You may point to this video, and maybe it will be the year 2025. In which there are far more better instruments, more sensitive instruments, which can detect more light coming from the edge of the universe, which prove the fact that the universe, the observable universe, is actually much bigger than the, let's say, 14 billion years. Correction, the 90 billion years it is now, and also the fact that it's much older. So it has to be older anyway, because if there is an outside non-observable universe, which is, according to some theorists, at least 100 times bigger than our observable universe, then it had to be having the time needed to get that big. So why should the universe not be 100 billion years old instead of 13 billion years old? Now, we humans are small creatures. We have a limited capacity of understanding these things, and it is just like asking an ant what's going on planet Pluto. Well, that ant could never ever give you the answer. He probably even don't know what the moon is. I guess he doesn't even see the moonlight, I think. So, we humans are limited in our understanding, and that's something. That is something that is hard to grasp, because we can actually think about it. We can think about our own limitations, and think about it in such a way that well, how do I say it? It's hard to imagine that there is something that we just simply cannot understand. And we humans, we are very curious by nature. We tend to seek the border, the frontier, always. We are always looking further and further and further. But there are things, like this thing, which we don't understand. We cannot look further than the edge of space. We don't know what is lying at the edge of space. We don't know what is outside the universe, no matter how big it is. And I hear all those people talking about multiverses and living inside a black hole, and there are lots of more universes. It does not negate the fact that it's just moving away the problem further behind. It's like there was in a movie, I don't know which movie it was, I think it was the movie Deep Star 6. It's a very old movie from the 80s. But in that movie they said at every deep lies another deep. So there's always a deep behind the deep. In this case, okay, maybe there are more universes. Maybe we are living in a black hole. Maybe the universe is infinite in size. So it still does not solve the problem. If the universe is finite, then we have a problem, because what's outside it, we don't know. We cannot define what's outside the universe. It's plain simple. We cannot define something which has no properties at all. We can just say it's a void of anything, a void of energy, a void of mass, a void of space itself, a void of... did I say energy? Yes, no, well, whatever. So it's just too hard to grasp, and we have to deal with it. We have to deal with it, and the only thing we can do is using our imagination and think about what possibly could be there. And well, for all the people who are believing in a god or something, let's call those people create. Oh man, my English is bulking up again. Creators. How do we call those people? Believers. We call them believers. People who believe, they don't worry about these things. They just believe that God created the universe, and that if they are doing their thing that God wants them to do, they are going to the eternal heaven. Okay, that's one way of getting some solitude with this problem. I tend to be somewhat between those two philosophies. Although I'm very curious by nature about the universe, I don't neglect the fact that there might be some form of divine entity at work here. It's I mean, if I look around and I see other people and I see stuff, I see this planet, I see the sun, I think to myself, well, that is a lot of coincidence that this has happened. That we have formed out of a gas cloud to begin with. That we theoretically we have started like a gas cloud after the Big Bang, that it only was hydrogen and a small fraction of helium, and then the first stars were born. Those were huge stars. They probably exploded in trillions of supernovas, and they bulked out all their heavy materials into space, creating the second generations of stars like our sun. And from all the leftovers, the planets were formed, and from those leftovers we were created somehow in some kind of primordial soup. And well, yeah, if you really think about it, just being sober, well, I don't drink, but being sober, then could you actually believe that? Okay, believing God created the universe is also hard, because there is hardly evidence for that as well. But believing we are coming from some kind of primordial soup, I don't know. I mean, this planet has millions and millions of different species, and all those species, well, Well, they are generally the same. I mean, they have legs, they have eyes, they have a mouth, they have a digestion system, but but the diversity of all those animals and plants and etc. is so big that it's hard to imagine that it came from one primordial soup, like the experiment that guy, what was his name, Miller or something, Steve Miller. Miller in 1953 did an experiment with a primordial atmosphere, and he found some stuff, I don't know what he found, but he found some molecules or something like that in a primordial Earth atmosphere, building blocks for life, as we put it, but even then he could only sustain them by taking them away from the environment, otherwise they would be destroyed as well. So the circumstances are very, 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 very slim that we exist today. Now, you could say the universe is so immensely big that, well, there should be at least one planet which this happens, and it happens to be here on Earth. So either there are two possibilities with this scenario: either we are unique and we are the only life force, the only livable planet. Well, there are more livable planets, but we are the only living things on this world in the entire universe. That's one scenario. Or the other scenario, which says there are trillions of other life forms anywhere, and life is just as common as planets are in the entire universe. But we did not detect any other life yet, so that is something that will eventually come, because we are just newcomers. We are just newcomers on the block. I mean, we are just broadcasting our radio and television signals, well, what is it, about 100 years or so in space? So even if there is a technical advanced society at 200 light years distance, they would not notice our planet being so special. Well, they only would see a planet which is in the habitable zone. And if they are technically advanced enough, they would see, well, it may contain life, but they are not sure. And for the same reason, we could argue about Proxima b. That's the small planet which is recently located at Proxima Centauri. Well, it could contain life, but it's only at 4.3 light years away. But we can't see it. We can't notice. We can't even see the planet. So imagine the difficulties other societies must have as well, because just of the distances of the universe. So we are alone, but maybe not, but we are so far from each other that we could say we are alone. But time will tell us, and maybe somewhere in the future, let's say in 1,000 years or so, or maybe even further, eventually we will build some kind of city ships, and we will leave Earth. And I mean, with city ships, real city ships. Maybe ships like we see in Star Trek, for example, or maybe ships like seen in 2001: Space Odyssey, and like a huge cylindrical shaped vessel which rotates very slowly around its axis to simulate gravity, and with all the vegetations and buildings all around. So if you are looking up, you are looking to your neighbors upstairs. You can wave to them. Hi, how are you doing? It's fine. Hey, throw me a towel. Something like that. Well, that's okay. That's enough bullshit. So, but well, it's fascinating. It's very fascinating. It's well, recently my stepdad died, and I have asked in some solitude sometimes to that he let hear that he let hear. Oh, my English! I have to cut this out. Okay, again, my stepfather has died recently, and at some point I put my mouse on a red dot on the screen. Let's say I put it here on this dot here. I don't know if my audio and my video will sync, but I will put the mouse on this. You see the cursor is now on that yellow blob. So I looked above, and I said to him, to my stepdad, I said, well, if you exist, if you still exist in any form whatsoever, I go away now. I go to the toilet, I go to make some coffee, I go to shower, whatever, and I give you 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and if I come back, could you please have moved the cursor? Could you move the mouse pointer? If that would have happened, it would have been a miracle. I tell you, it would have been a miracle. But it didn't happen. So I was kind of disappointed, because I sincerely hope, and that's just because of the fact we don't know anything about the universe and everything what lies outside the universe. I hope that there is something after death. There lies an existence after death in one form or of another form that tells us something about the true nature of the universe. If I die, I would like to know everything about the universe. If you consider that every second one human or maybe two humans are dying, I mean, while I'm talking, it's nearly, you can see it in the right corner here. This is the Bandicam counter. It says 28 minutes talking now. If you consider that in this amount of time, how many people have died now because of several possibilities, accidents, age, organ failure, whatever, then yeah, well, you could say God is a busy man, but I think that for every person there is a God, because if God exists, he can duplicate himself unlimited. So don't worry. I believe that if God exists, there will be a God for everybody. There will be a Jeeezzz for everybody, and you can plead for your sins. Again, English. Okay. Okay. Well, you may plead for it, and you may ask. Probably you may ask for it. You could ask God, how big is the universe? Hey man, how big did you make it? Does it go for eternity or not? And well, I don't know if he replies, if he gives you any answer, and maybe you will get eternal wisdom as well, and maybe then we lose our human confinement of how to say it. We are limited in our capacity to understand things, so maybe we will be as wise and all-knowing as God himself. The Bible says that God created us in his image. That's a very, very interesting sentence, because he created us in his image. Now, let's say, for the argument, I am not I don't want to provoke any arguments between creatism people and scientist people, because we have to respect each other. I think we have all respect each other. Every human must be able to do what he wants to do and believe what he wants to believe, and it does not matter what kind of color of his skin or what his heritage is. It does not matter. We have all red blood, right? Okay. So how did I came to this question? I don't know anymore. I really don't know. I'm lost. You know, I'm just talking without any form of scripting. I'm just talking about the nature of the universe, and well, it does not matter. If you, oh yes, I was talking about if God does exist, and you are going to, let's say, heaven, you may know all of it. You don't have to worry about anything. You will know about the nature of the universe, and you will know it's maybe just a droplet on a leaf. That's it. That's the entire universe, and that's it. But even then, and I am very, and now I'm going to be annoying. Even then, after that, you are being with God, you have asked the question, well, that was the universe, okay, oh, that's very nice. And how about this place? Mr. God, how big is this place? Does it end somewhere? And how about you? Where did you came from? So, this is just going insane to a point in which I cannot argue anymore, because, well, it goes to a point in which I cannot understand it myself anymore. Because if I have to ask God where he came from, and how big his realm is, and how far his dimension is stretching, and maybe he was created by another God, well, then it's an endless question. It's like counting. Start with 1. Where does it end? Nowhere. So, in order to make this video also not make too long, because I'm talking more than half an hour now, I will stop talking now. I hope you are commenting this video, and you may comment on every section of the video, because I talked about many things, about the true nature of the universe, how big it is, how many stars there are, if God exists or not. It does not matter. You are free to make any comments you like, and well, if you like this and you like other stuff on my channel as well, please subscribe. I would very appreciate that. And also, if you are an astronomer lover, if I say it correctly, if you like astronomy. I have also a brand channel. It is called Chaos Theory, and at that channel I use the program Universe Sandbox 2, and I do many crazy things with it, like colliding planets with each other, like slamming the Earth into Jupiter, and take a black hole and let it slurping the sun. So, and that's very fun as well. So this I will end now, and I will say have a good night and a good sleep, and don't think too much about this subject, because if you think too much of this, it will drive you bonkers. So I will end it now. Have a nice day, and I see you next time. Bye bye.